All right. Good afternoon, everybody. It is Friday, and we are back for season 2. We had a little bit of a blip in our schedule just because of the whole school thing. Sorry, teachers. I know you guys want to be back, but the guys that don't teach don't really mind not being in school. But anyway, so I had to take a day off, and here we are trying to get some interviews in. But I want to start by thanking our sponsors. Again, as always, Chihuahua Cerveza. As you see right here, these will be all 6 bottles, so you can count us and make sure that
There might not be 6 when we get out of here.
Make sure we're speaking the truth, but Chihuahua Cerveza is our main sponsor. The local Chihuahua brewery is in Newport Beach. If you get a chance to get out there, stop in and say hello and try some of the fine food as well as some of the Mexican lagers they have. We also have a couple of new sponsors, Boyle Gear, anything and everything in the way of fishing attire for men, women, and children. You can look them up on Facebook at Boyle Gear. You can also look on Instagram as well as boylegear.com. We also have 100% Media. The gentlemen at 100% are the ones that put on the production that we have here. They do all the editing and they help with the posting and such. Also, Adam Schwartz Real Estate. Adam is the young man that funds this operation. He provides the office, he provides the building, and he is the one that actually put all of this in motion. So if you're looking for anything in the way of real estate and relocation, look up Adam Schwartz. Today, folks, again, as I told you, it's a Friday school day, so I was lucky enough to have another special guest here. He was rushing right out of class. I have the head coach from Orange Vista High School in Paris, California, Mr. Mike Overton. So, Mike, thanks for coming. Appreciate you coming out. This is your second time at this.
Second time. Feel a little bit more comfortable. I won't even have to touch the beer, so good to go.
Well, we'll let you take one of those home with you for later on. But you're like that Saturday Night Live guest that's 3, 4, 5 times. You're a popular guy. So we'll try to cover some different ground here and chat about some different things. And we don't really have a direction with my podcast. This is totally different. This is something that I'm not as regimented or type A about. And so what I was telling you earlier was I just like to bring in local coaches, and I enjoy talking baseball with baseball guys.
Definitely.
If you're like me, it's tough to find guys kind of in that same mindset. You can't always talk about it at parties and things like that because not everybody knows what goes on. So what we usually start with is just having you kind of bring us up to speed with your baseball background. And I tell everybody, go as far back as you want. If you want to tell us about your first Little League home run, then put it out there.
Oh, man.
How did you?
It was a 3-1 pitch, inner half, and
little Billy Smith. I couldn't stand that kid, and I was glad to. Just how did you end up at Orange Vista and being the head guy there?
I mean, much like you, just grew up on baseball from the time that I can walk, and from Little League to American Legion. That was our travel ball before travel ball. Yeah. So played American Legion, high school, a little bit of junior college. Okay. Kind of made the tour around then. Right out of high school, though, not always making the best decisions. I had a daughter right out of high school, so that kind of cut my playing career down. Sure. I think I played at San Bernardino Valley College for maybe 2 months. Okay. And but I was working, had a 6-month-old at home, taking classes, playing baseball, and so it got to be a little bit much, and then something had to go, and so that's kind of when I got out of playing at the college level. And then of course with the adult leagues, Sunday leagues, I played in that a little bit, but really never got over it. So I got an opportunity about 12 years ago to get back into coaching. So my coaching career started at Heritage High when it first opened. Okay. So I was a part of that, which is similar to Orange Vista. Started off with freshmen and sophomores, so I kind of followed the same game plan that we had there. And so I did the first 3 years at Heritage, worked with just the freshmen in JV. Okay. Then I moved over to Lakeside High School in Elsinore. I was an assistant varsity coach there for 2 years while I was getting my teaching credential. So once I got the credential, I said, okay, I'm done commuting. I was commuting from Menifee out to Elsinore, out to Cal State San Bernardino for school, back to Menifee every day. Wow. So it's a big triangle. It was. And so I told my wife, I said, when I get hired in the district, we are moving there, we are coaching there. So joined Valverde School District about 10 years ago while I was coaching at Lakeside. And principal was super cool. He let me take prep 6th period. He would let me sneak out before the bell rings and get over to Elsinore and coach, and that was awesome. But the condition was that when something in the district opened up, that I needed to apply there. So went over to Rancho Verde for 2 years, where I coached with Tim, and so I was there coaching the JV for 2 years. And then when Orange Vista opened up 5 years ago, I went over there to start that program.
Okay.
And then so that's how I got to OV, and so this is my 5th year there.
Okay.
And so looking forward to getting back on the field.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting because you've had a couple of brand new starts in schools, and that's always a unique. I've never had that experience, but I imagine there's a lot of different things that your coaching job entails when you're the beginning part of the program. There's some things that you probably have to experience.
Things you wouldn't even think about, you know. So I remember, and like I said, when I was at Heritage, I got to kind of sit back and watch Coach Montgomery. So I was kind of the lower level, so I got to see a lot of stuff that he did, and I was definitely on the phone with him when I knew we were going to open up Orange Vista. So, and being a manager, you know, it's I won't say very little about baseball, but it's probably 50-50,
sure.
You know, where it's actually baseball versus, you know, ordering uniforms and making sure the field is in order and making sure, you know, we're talking to the parents and fundraising and all that extra stuff. So opening up Orange Vista, good and bad, it was definitely an experience. So I had to learn a lot along the way. Yeah,
that's interesting because when you talk about that, you mentioned even just being an assistant and then moving up to a head coach. That's one of the things that I always tell younger guys. There's days where as the head coach you wish you were just the hitting guy or just the pitching guy, because you just come and you actually do baseball.
It's baseball.
Yeah. And that's kind of where we all get into it. But you know, sometimes that head role puts some things on your plate that you really don't want to have to deal with, and it's just it's a different animal, but it's a good learning experience. And I think for younger coaches, it's something that they definitely want to look ahead to, because it does take some of the things away from the on-field, but you know, there is something to learn from that if you ever want to move up. Absolutely. So now you guys have had a pretty good run, you know, starting at Orange Vista. We'll jump in there and then we'll go back and forth. But you know, you guys from when you initially started, I know you played kind of an independent, for lack of a better word, schedule.
Yeah, we like I said, we had sophomores and freshmen only, and so based on school size, you know, that's who we played against. So I think we were in the Warrior League, which was you know, primarily we had some Indian schools in there, some Christian schools, some very small private schools, which was probably where we should have been, because you know, we had bigger numbers at our school, but we were all babies. We were all freshmen and sophomores, and so I don't care how small your school is, we would run into a senior, you know, that's throwing upper 80s, 90s, you know, so when you're 15 years old, it's a little bit of a challenge. So we started there, and like I said, we were successful there, and then each year we would move up a little bit. So I think we remain in the same conference this season, but I think we switched leagues.
So where are you guys at now from where you started? What division?
Well, it's the division, I believe, is still Division 5. Okay. Now, usually CIF won't put that out until, normally it's around December, so who knows when they're going to put it out this year. I'm assuming 5 because 3 years ago we were D7 and we came in the semifinals, and then so they skipped us past 6 into 5. So we went to the semifinals again, but we were barely in the 5. So when we came back to play last season, we were around the middle of 5. And so, you know, I couldn't imagine them jumping us up to 4 just because we only played, you know, the 9 or 10 games last year. So I imagine that's where we're going to be.
Yeah, that's the easiest thing to do. So where you are, you're kind of in a unique area again. You kind of pull from Paris, but you pull probably a little bit from Menifee, maybe even some from the outskirts of Hemet.
Yeah, the Val Verde district is kind of, half of the schools are in Moreno Valley and half of the schools are in Paris. You know, and so mostly south Moreno Valley, a little bit of Paris, maybe a little Nuevo.
Yeah, when I was Val Verde, Rancho was the only high school back then, so it was kind of unique because we had pretty much the largest population of kids coming in, as opposed to Moreno Valley, where I think they had 4 at the time. What is the population of the school right now?
Last year we became the biggest school in the district. I believe we had 2,500. So what happened was, again, with freshmen and sophomores, we we just started getting one feeder school. I think it was Lakeside Middle School, and so we get all of their kids every year. And so now I think that they redrew the lines for Rancho and Citrus, and so both of those schools have a little bit less, and we have a little bit more. So I think everybody's around 2,000, but I think we're about 2,500 now.
Okay, well, that's not bad. I mean, at least it's equal for the 3 schools.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we had talked about before, just a little bit here and there, was that now that you've been established as a school, your 5th year there, and you guys have had a senior class, and you guys had some success, that starts putting the spotlight on you.
A little pressure.
And so, pressure, but it's good.
Sure.
That's what you kind of get into it for. And then for your kids, that actually means more opportunity to play beyond.
Absolutely.
And, you had mentioned that you have some players that you think might have a future in playing beyond. And so your senior class right now, or is it more of your junior class?
No, we are senior strong.
Okay.
I just got off the phone with a local coach on the way here, and he was just asking me about my seniors, and I believe we have 8 seniors returning.
Okay.
And in my opinion, 5 or 6 of them can play in college at some point. Probably mostly at junior college, but a couple guys that can really play. So, and these guys were, when they came in as a freshman and sophomore, we already knew.
Yeah.
We, as a matter of fact, when we made our run a couple years ago, I had 2 sophomores that pitched the whole CIF.
Okay.
All 4 games. So I think one had like a 1.8 ERA, Casey Murray, and then one had like a 1.6, 1.7, Chris Ramos. And so now, cut to 2 years later, I've got them as seniors, and I have probably 3 or 4 other pitchers as well.
Good.
So this is, like I say, knock on wood. Hopefully we get, on the field, when we're supposed to. This could be a truly special year. That's what we're hoping for.
Yeah, it's interesting because now it's actually kind of cool how it worked out, because I just had Jesse in here, and, I'm going to ask your opinion at some point in here. We were talking about how their recruiting has changed because of the backlog, kids being able to come back another year. Yeah. And initially in March, it looked like, okay, well, maybe this thing will blow over. We'll get summer ball in, and then we'll be back on track. And now, it looks like it might start impacting next year's class, and then maybe even a little bit into beyond. And so for the players that you have, your role changed. As a coach, you're coach, but in a lot of ways you might be kind of a dad, kind of an uncle role. You know how that works depending on the situation. And now, what type of advice have you been giving your guys, because they haven't really had a timeline, or when are we going to practice, or they're looking for answers that even we don't have.
Yeah, I've just tried to be upfront with them as far as the information that I know. Our district kind of gave us a date where they were going to revisit it. I believe at the end of October we're supposed to revisit when we're going to come back. Of course, like the state is kind of moving along. I noticed some schools are coming back. Some are starting athletics. And so I was just upfront with them. I said, this is what I know. We will communicate every couple of weeks for me to check in on you guys. And the main thing was just for them to stay ready. Everybody's in the same position right now. So the difference is going to be what you're doing right now. Are you getting up and running? Are you lifting weights? Are you playing long toss? Are you doing the things that you can control? Because in the end, that's all that matters. Control the controllables and be ready when we get the green light.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the things we had discussed, because it's a situation where a lot of the kids now, again, like we had mentioned, depending on what things are like for them, they're looking to the adults for answers and coaches, and we're doing everything kind of day by day, because as a teacher, as a coach, you really don't know until the school knows, and then when the school knows, they let you know. And a lot of these things aren't going to be quick turnarounds. It's a lot of patience, and it's a lot of let's see how it goes, and it might be this way for a week, and then next week we might have to change it. And so
it changes day to day.
Well, and the tough part for an athlete the whole time with this, there's that thing where athletes are trained on a timeline. I'm getting ready for the season that starts here, but we don't have a timeline. And so for younger players, one of the things that I really hope is that some of them have the foresight to take advantage of it. Like you had mentioned, you can control that. Just because I can't be on the field with my buddies all the time, I can still go out and run. I can still find places to hit. I can still do things to make myself better.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, there's always going to be somebody that you're competing with. I tell that guys when we come in, I said, you're not just competing with the 2 or 3 guys next to you. Okay. If you want to go to this college, how many kids do you think are fighting to go to that college?
Sure.
How many are fighting to get to where you want to be?
Yeah.
Not just here, down, Cuba, Dominican, Mexico, Asia.
Yeah.
They're all fighting for that same place you want to be.
Yeah.
And guess what? If I have to get you pumped up to work out, to lift, to run, it's going to be a losing battle. So we've been preaching that at Orange Vista for the past few years. And like I said, some of the kids that we have that are seniors now, they've heard this for the last 3 or 4 years. And so a lot of them had taken it to heart. I spoke with some of my kids over the last few days just to check in and who's playing, what's your travel ball organization doing, what are you doing to make yourself better, how are you working on your mental game. And so for the most part, I got a lot of good responses, and that's all we can do. Like I said, we're trying to hit the ground running once we get the green light, but until then, you do what you can on your own.
Yeah, I don't really think that, fortunately, because of the time of the season, I don't really think that baseball is going to be behind.
No.
I actually, it's a little longer break than I probably would have liked for the kids, but I think we were getting to a point prior to that where the conversation was they're playing too much. Kids are hurting their arms. They're playing a full high school season, then all summer, and then they're coming back and playing again. And I think there's going to be some changes going forward that maybe some people are going to step back and go, hey, you know what? We didn't play from March until September. We didn't play from March until November, and he's fine.
Yeah.
It's kind of forced him into running a little bit more, lifting a little bit more, eating better. I know a lot of the guys that we work with on a weekly basis are coming back, and the guys are a little lighter, putting on weight. The guys are a little heavier, losing some weight. And,
nice.
And guys that are maybe kind of were hesitant or not necessarily 100% dedicated to fixing some of those hitches, have nothing else to do but fix them now. So, by this standard, we're having no other choice but to fix some of those things. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And like you said, I think me and you are similar. We're used to grinding. We always want to go. And
Sure.
sometimes, we have to be told you need to take a break. You need to take some time off. And so a lot of our athletes, they take after us in that same manner where they don't want to miss out. Fear
Sure.
of missing out on something. And
Sure.
so they feel like they have to play every day. I had some guys that want to play right up until we had to go dark for travel for high school. And then the second that we're eliminated from CIF, they're looking for a tournament the next week. So everybody wants to be out there, but like I said, for one way of looking at it, just having some time off,
Sure.
can kind of build the hunger back. So
Yeah.
I don't think that's a bad thing.
No, and that's something that I'm curious on, and we'll probably talk about this again when you come back for your third time. We, I was talking to Jesse earlier, and I had asked him, I said, what I'm kind of curious to see is now there's a lot of these kids that, we would always use as an example. Hey, you're not going to have baseball one day. Or, hey, one day something's going to happen. And you and I were in a similar experience where that happened.
Yes.
Life just kind of happens, and you have to make adjustments. And so this group of kids had that actually happen to them. But fortunately, it looks like they're going to be able to get it back.
Yeah.
How many of those kids are going to embrace that situation?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We, and sometimes, I know the kids get tired of hearing it.
Sure.
It's like, hey, you're going to regret it. You're going to regret it. I regret the way my high school career ended 20-something years ago.
Yeah.
I said, leave it out on the field. We don't want to do it. And, of course, they don't want to hear it.
Sure.
But, after last year, I think our returning players are going to really hear that. My heart goes out to the guys from last year. We had a group of seniors that, everything was coming together. Like I said, we were coming off of 2 straight, semifinal CIF runs. We were 9-1. We were rolling. We were ready to go. And then to have it taken away from my 5 seniors, and for the most part, maybe one of them will play some JC.
Yeah.
So their last high school experience was me telling them that, I know we said we were going to be off for 2 weeks for spring break, but now the school year is over. Because you remember, in March we thought, all right, we'll take spring break off, we'll backload the end of the year, and we'll be back at it. Keep grinding. And then most of them got the word either from news or from a coach email or that it was over, it was taken away. And so my heart goes out to them. But for the guys that are returning, I mean that's a warning. You never know when it's going to be taken away.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be. There's always going to be a way that we can turn this into a positive for those kids. And I think that, the break is good physically for a lot of the kids, and I know that some of your more perceptive kids are probably going to take a step back and go, okay, yeah, you know what, I'm going to reevaluate everything. I didn't get a chance to finish last season, but for a lot of our kids, we actually kind of posed it to them as, hey, you had a snapshot.
Yeah.
Did you like where it was at that time? Well, I wasn't really hitting, I wasn't playing. Okay. What have you done to make that different? Because when you go back, it's going to be even tighter. You're not going to have a chance to take as long a look on guys because, hey, the new group is already here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to jump over a little bit higher hurdle. So I think and I hope that some of those kids are going to look at that and go, you know what? Okay, here's my chance. I really want it. So let's show it. Or, fortunately, unfortunately, some of those kids are going to go, I don't really miss it, and I'm gonna be a student, or I'm gonna get into drawing or writing or whatever it is. They're going to find a different avenue.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. I mean, I tell kids that all the time. I said, make sure that you're in this 100% because I'm in it 100% and your teammates are in it 100%. Yeah. And I think it's important that we give the kids the okay to say that, you know what, I'm not feeling it, I'm feeling this, and then let that be, because the worst thing you can have is have somebody in it halfway.
Sure.
Like I said, because, for the goals that we've set out, the goals that we want, we need 100% from everybody. And so, I think that that's important. I've in the past had to sit down with kids and kids' parents because they no longer love the game.
Sure.
That they were hanging on because it was dad's dream or it was mom's dream. Yeah. And so I tell my kids, I said, hey man, this is the greatest game in the world, but you have to love it like I love it. And if you don't love it like I love it, let me know and let me help you get out of it, because it's there's too many people playing for keeps to be in it halfway. Yeah. You have to want to do it, you know? So I think that's huge.
Well, and I think, sometimes we use the word coach, and I think that has a different connotation to it. I always kind of like the mentor kind of role, because when you talk to a player, a lot of times they'll take your input or my input or a coach's input as negative because you don't want them starting or you don't want them in the lineup. But if they really step back and understand and listen, you're trying to do it for their best interest, because whether it's your job, whether it's going the college you decide, the courses you take, if you don't genuinely have an interest or a passion in it, you're not going to be as successful as you can be.
Absolutely.
And it's okay to say, you know what, coach, I don't want to be here 5 days a week for baseball.
Yeah.
And they have to look at that as a positive, you noticing that. And I'm sure some of those players were probably thankful because they didn't have it in them to tell their parents.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, I mean, every year, like I said, as the talent, we were talking a little bit before, as the talent at our school has kind of rose up the ranks from the younger guys, I had some seniors that were like, they saw the writing on the wall. It was like, Coach, I don't know if I want to be here 5 days a week, lifting weights, running, and I'm not going to play much. Yeah. And as a coach, all I can do is be honest with them. I said, the spot is there for you to earn, but this is where you're at.
Yeah.
And if it's too much, it's fine. And we had one or two kids that said, hey, Coach, I need to work. I need to earn some money. Yeah. Prom's coming up. No big deal. I could come out and keep the scorebook for me, and I'll get you some community service. Yeah. Like I said, baseball is super important, but I think our roles as coaches, like you said, as mentors, is trying to bring young men along.
Sure.
And so sometimes that's the best decision for them, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And then I've had students that I had a kid that graduated a couple years ago, and he felt like he was in the same position. I'm like, well, you need to do it the right way. You come talk to me. We're going to talk to our teammates, and we're going to let them know. And he did. And then about a couple months later, he was like, I miss it, Coach. Mm-hmm. I want it back. And then, and we allowed it, but there was channels he had to go through. You had to go talk to your teammates. You had to convince them that you were 100% all in, and then you had to go and get your spot back.
Sure.
And so he sat a little bit, but he actually finished the year strong. I was very happy for him. Mm-hmm. And, like I said, he got to feel that hunger that he once had. Mm-hmm. And we allowed the door to remain open for him to get back involved. Yeah. So it was good.
And that's something I think just in general for players to understand, that again, those words, playing and earning a spot. I've got 60 guys in my program or whatever it is, and they all want to play.
Yes.
But I may only have 20 that want to earn that spot.
Yes.
And they're coming here every day. And some of those 20 might not even be guys that are playing.
Yeah.
They might not have the talent, but they're out here working as hard as they can every day just to get that time on the field. And I think sometimes players don't understand the difference between the two.
It's difficult because you have a lot of factors. You have some kids that play the travel ball at whatever level.
Sure.
But, I tell kids, both the girls that I work with in softball and the baseball, there will be somebody that will take your money.
Sure.
Okay, you have to get somebody that's going to be honest with you. And
sure.
like I said, I appreciate what you're doing, because you always, I know kids that you've worked with, and you always give them a fair assessment of their talent and what they need to do, and that's what they need to hear. But you will get some people that they pay a lot of money to this pitching coach and this hitting coach, and they tell me, well, my pitching coach tells me I need to pitch 20 innings a week, and I'm like, well, good luck with that.
Yeah.
So I've got 8 guys that can bring it.
Sure.
And so the opportunity is there, but I think that, kind of in our current environment, sometimes we tell the kids what they want to hear instead of what they need to hear.
Sure.
And then sooner or later, like you said, you're going to have to hear from somebody. So I'd rather you hear it from me than on the job site 5 years ago.
Right.
The opportunity is there, but the only thing that's promised to you is the opportunity.
Yeah.
Now you go get it.
Yeah.
So.
And we've had that conversation too a lot with, funny, you and I were talking about kids playing beyond.
Yeah.
A lot of kids now we were talking with social media, there's all these kids posting that they early signed or they committed and they this and that. And, you get some of the kids that get answering, well, why aren't I being committed? Or why isn't anybody talking to me? A commitment and even a scholarship isn't a guarantee you're playing. They're just trying to make a bigger commitment to get you to come to that school. But when you walk on campus, there's 34 other guys that don't want you to play.
Yeah.
They want to take your spot.
Yeah.
They're angry that you got that scholarship and they didn't.
Absolutely.
So all that does is give you an opportunity to compete.
Yeah.
And sometimes kids don't understand that there's no guarantees at any level, regardless of what your situation is.
Yeah, that's all you get. Even one of my first lessons in coaching when I was at Heritage years ago, we had another group that just, every once in a while you get that special group that comes through.
Yeah.
And I think it was year 2. So we had a group of freshmen that came through, and they were studs.
Mm-hmm.
They were ballers. I went from the JV down to the freshmen because Coach Montgomery and I both wanted to work with these kids.
Mm-hmm.
And we grinded, and we would beat up on the JV team, and it was all good. But then the next year, when they jumped over them, what broke loose, because
Sure.
now my kid's a senior,
right,
and these kids are sophomore, and they're playing, and why are they playing instead of mine? And we tell them, this is life. We're teaching life.
Sure.
All you get is that opportunity. You have to go out and put in the work and grind. And so everybody's going to learn that lesson. The sooner you learn that lesson, the better. If you can learn it as a 15, 16-year-old young man, it's going to help you in life. If you have to learn that when you're 25, yikes.
Yeah.
it's tough.
Thinking about that, one of the years, actually all of the years I was at Rancho, we used to post a depth chart.
Yeah.
And some of the kids didn't understand, and I explained it to them. I said, when you go to college, or you're playing football or whatever, and we put it in, and I included all 3 levels, because I wanted the freshmen to understand, look, you're on this too.
Yeah.
And if you come out and I see you do the things that I need you to do, and I see you doing the development and the things that I want to see out of you, then you have a chance to move up. Just because of your grade year doesn't mean you're going to be limited to someplace. And conversely, seniors, your time with the company, so to speak, doesn't grant you any leeway. I expect more of you because you've been here longer.
You've been here,
yeah. And I said, you don't think some of these big companies like Apple and Tesla and all those, if you're at the top of that ladder because you've been here 20 years and you're making the most money, but I got a guy here that just started and he can do all the things you do for half the money and I get that other half, why wouldn't I want the cheaper guy? I said, in this case, if I have a freshman, I've got him for 3 more years. But if he's doing all the things you do, then my time is going to be better invested in him, because I'm going to lose you in June.
Yeah.
And I got to replace you anyway. So better for me to replace you now. I go, it's harsh.
And that's a higher ceiling for the young man.
Yeah, exactly. And I said, so I need you to show me 2 more years distance between the two of you, because that's what you have. And that was a hard lesson for some kids, but like I said, same as you, it's going to happen eventually.
Yeah.
And when you get in that job and they tell you, you know what, we're going to hire him because he's this, and this, you're going to look back and go, okay, that makes sense because this is where I was at.
And honestly, the best thing, one of the best things, experience I've had at coaching is some of the guys that I've coached years ago. And, they say, well, at the time, coach, I didn't understand.
Yeah.
I just thought you were being a jerk.
Sure.
I just thought you were doing that. But now you get to see them 4 or 5 years later, and they have young ones, or they're in the job field, and they see what you wanted them to see years ago, they see now.
Yeah.
And so, when I get frustrated with my current team, sometimes I have to say, you know what, they don't know any better. When I was in high school, I didn't know any better. And then, like I say, you just live for those calls that you get a couple years down the line where they're like, hey, coach, life is going well. Thank you for what you did.
Yeah. I mean, and that's ultimately better than any win or any,
Absolutely.
And that's something that as a coach, you have a classroom as well, which is the field. And it's just a different way for you to deliver that information that they need to hear.
Absolutely.
And I think sometimes you're also in the class too, but on the field you have a better ear for those kids because you already know you've got their attention.
Yeah.
If I'm in science or math, for me anyway, I'm not really paying attention. Sorry, teachers. But if I'm out on the field, I already know he's going to listen to me because I have something he wants. He wants to play. He wants to practice with us. So he's going to listen to every word I say.
Absolutely. Well, and the funny thing too is, every so often I'll get a player in my classroom. I'll get it because I know you would teach the younger kids, but since I teach at the high school, I'll get a player in my classroom, and it's amazing how good of a student they can be when coach is the teacher. And I'll hear from their other teachers, he's talking, he's doing, wow, he's great in my class. And so I remember at Rancho, I would pop in the classroom sometimes. It's like, okay, what period is they having trouble? And I'd come in there and go see them, and they change. But absolutely, the thing that the advantage we have as coaches or any kind of leadership on campus is we know the kids want to be there.
Yeah.
They went to tryouts. They nagged mom and dad to buy them the newest glove, the newest bat.
Yeah.
They want to be out there, and so your word is going to go a lot further out there. And so I think as coaches, we need to take advantage of that and teach the lessons, teach beyond the field.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's, from my opinion anyway, it's kind of an unfair assessment, but I always felt like the coaches had a greater responsibility because you had a different connection. As being in class, you have so many kids come through period 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's your only interaction with them. Yeah. And in that class, you may only converse with 1 or 2 that ask questions, but everybody else is just kind of sitting there.
Yeah.
But with your team, you have them every day. And you might have 10 or 12 conversations with them, or just walk up and, hey, how's it going? Hey, how's it going? So your interaction and your connection with them starts and stays stronger from the beginning. So the teachers may or may not have that with all of their kids. They might get it 1, out of 3 or 4 classes, but you have a deeper connection as a coach with those players.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's hard to want to shoulder that responsibility, but again, it's something that it kind of goes with the territory, and it's something that I think because of your athletic background, you're kind of already set up to do.
Yeah, well, and we talked about a little bit before the show that there's no high school coaches that are doing it for the money. We're doing that because we want to be that mentor for the kid. It's kind of what we signed up for.
Sure.
I know I got a chance to help out with the girls golf team this year. So it was the first time for me, but I love it. I told them I'm making minimum wage for baseball, but for golf, hey, I'm getting a little stipend, get to play a little.
You get free rounds. So.
I'm loving it. I didn't see the light until this year, but that's a sweet gig. But the coach that I coach with, Coach Kevin Ho over there at Orange Vista, he says that we're in it for the outcome and not the income.
Right.
And so, and that's what it's about. It kind of summarizes that we're willing to take on the load for those kids.
Yeah.
Because, that's our future. That's who's going to be making the decisions for us, in the next few years. And so, it's important.
Yeah. And it is. It's different because you don't really get into that. So a lot of the younger coaches, when they come in and they're almost at that age, because a lot of times it's first year teachers or guys that are just out of college looking for something to do, and they may be 4 or 5 years. They're more of a big brother than they are a father or uncle or grandfather.
Absolutely.
And so they don't really understand how these kids look up to them, and it's hard for a coach to instill that in them and go, hey, look, if you do this and you're just kind of sitting there not doing anything, if you don't bring energy, then they're not going to bring energy. You're also a finger that they can point at, but you're also going to be someone that they can look at how they carry themselves and how they conduct themselves.
Yeah, as and that's something that I've had to learn as well is most of the time your players are going to reflect you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of calculated. I'm kind of more calm and everything too. I wasn't the biggest rah-rah guy, but when I need to be, I can be. Mm-hmm. And I know sometimes the kids will feed on it. And so, like you said, with a young coach, they don't know that they're watching you.
Yeah.
So how you want your young men to perform, that's how you have to act. That's how you have to behave on the field. And so, it took me a little while to learn that, but you have to always be aware of the eyes that are on you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I remember when a lot of conversations I had with players and the kids, and the most flack that I had was because I wasn't allowed, yell or argue umpire, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's me.
And I would try to tell the parents, I said, look, here's the thing. If I'm a bucket kicker, these guys are going to kick buckets. If I yell at the umpire, they're going to yell at the umpire. If I complain about every call, they're going to complain about every call. And nothing gets accomplished. I've seen enough of those where, if you're going to argue balls and strikes in the first inning, the rest of your day is going to go miserably. You're better off just walking up and, and trying to get the kids to understand that there's a way to go about things, and it doesn't always have to be the same way.
Yeah. Well, and you know what, Ernie? What I found is the opposite is in fact true. Mm-hmm. I have talked to umpires. I have talked to other coaches, both in baseball and softball, and I've heard that from parents. You don't yell at the coaches. You don't yell at the umpires. You don't do this. You just coach, and they'll see me go talk to them in between innings, and I'll tell them, well, yeah, you blew that call. Yeah, you did, but I'm not going to show them up.
Right.
Or I'll talk, hey, you owe me one. And sure enough, the next borderline call you may get. Yeah. And I've had umpires, I won't name any names, but I've had umpires that tell me, hey, when the coaches are yelling and barking, they just tune them out.
Yeah.
So I actually feel like I have gotten more calls throughout my coaching career because I will go up there and talk to them. I'll tell them, hey, I had a bad day. You're entitled to a bad day.
Yeah.
But you're gonna have to give me a call back.
Yeah.
And like I said, not only do I say that there's nothing wrong with not being a loud talker, loud barker, but I think it's an advantage to treat the umpires with respect.
Yeah, and again, they're trying to do their best out there too, the same as you are. And when kids come back and they argue that bang play at first, it's a ground ball to short. You should have been out anyway.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't even have stopped to argue. You just turn around. You should have been out when you hit the ball. Yeah. And trying to get the parents to understand that too. I said, you can't argue every play because there's certain things that you already know. Hey, it's strike 3, it got by him. He missed 2 before we even got to this. So why am I going to beat up the umpire for it?
Well, that goes back to controlling what we can control. Yeah. You had 3, 4, 5 pitches in the box that you had to control. Yeah. Now you let it get to 3-2 and you got hosed on a bad call.
Yeah.
That's your fault.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, and I think kids especially now, and I've talked about this with other coaches, it's a different generation. There's not too many of those yeller and screamer, and I'm older than you, and so I grew up with the grabbing the face mask and the smacking the helmet and the that's where I learned all my good cussing from.
Yeah, try that now.
Yeah, before I take my finger down, there's a attorney's card in my hand. But it's one of those things where now the kids are a lot more knowledgeable. Like we mentioned, there's videos on YouTube, and you can learn how to do anything on YouTube now, and there's all kinds of information that they can get on coaching, and they can get on strategy. And so a lot of the kids watch that and they understand some things, and if you can communicate with them, you actually can get more of them to help you than hurt you. And that was one of the things that I would always express to kids is, look, hey, I'm the guy that's supposed to make the lineup and put the game plan in, but I need you guys to help me too, because I'm only one set of eyes. And if I'm watching the catcher and pitcher and you see something that's not working on the other side, then come and tell me so we can all benefit from it. If you pick something up in their dugout, or you hear something on the side, or hey, you're at first base, you're listening to what he's telling this guy on base, come and tell me. We're all in this for the same goal. So don't be afraid to come and give me a suggestion, because you might see something I don't see.
Absolutely. I think that is such a big key to what we're trying to do as a team. Mm-hmm. We have to be in it together.
Yeah.
And like you said, I think that you lose respect as a coach if you say, you do it my way, you do it this way.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't tell you to do that. I rather talk to my players. Hey, what were you thinking? Why were you doing that?
Yeah.
If they have a good reason, okay, I like it. Think about this. How about this? We're in it together.
Yeah.
And so I think that is huge, because like you say, the information is out there, and if you get into a competition of who knows more, it's a losing battle. It's a losing. As a matter, I don't even try. My job is to manage. As a high school head coach or a college head coach or as a manager, your job is to let the coaches coach their thing, overall manage, and just make sure you're communicating. If you're communicating with the kids, you're all on the same page. That's half the battle.
Yeah.
I tell them, go to Ernie for your hitting lesson. lessons. You know.
Thanks, I appreciate that. I'll give you a stack of cards. You get both of these.
There you go. Look at that. I just doubled up my compensation. I like it. So, but the point being is, I've talked to a lot of coaches from different places, and they will get a kid and they will break down everything that the last coach did. Mm-hmm. They want to coach, or they want to teach, or they want to train the way they learned 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. Guess what? It's different now.
Sure.
There's a lot of different ways to get to where you want to be. And so if I see a kid that's doing something that's going to hurt him, or is going to really, we'll talk about it. I'm like, you know what? We might want to try this. But if he's paying money to a guy, and especially the guys around here, we know most of the guys that's training.
Sure.
I'm just going to try to emphasize what you've been training them, because they're spending money, they're spending their hard-earned time to actually learn from somebody that's doing that for a living. And so I'm just going to try to help you out. So I have some kids, should my hands be here or here? I don't care. Mm-hmm. As long as you're relaxed, as long as you're balanced, as long as we're crushing the inside of the ball, that's what I want.
Well, it's cool that you say that, because 20 years ago when I started this, man, there was, I'd get parents bringing me forms that the coach said, we have to sign this, that during the season you can't talk to another trainer, you can't do this and that. And, my thing was, look, I was never a teacher in the classroom, but I'm going to take a step here that if I'm your teacher in math and you're failing, I can help you a little bit in class, but there's probably tutors on campus that you can come afterwards on certain days. And if you can't get to those, there's Sylvan and all these other places where you can go on Saturday and they'll work with you one-on-one on math, algebra, whatever it is, so you can pass that class. And as a teacher, I'm going to tell you to go there.
Yeah.
Well, as your teacher for baseball, if you're not where you want to be in that group of 30, 50, 60 kids, then go find help outside. I go, if your coach isn't agreeable to that, I said, then do this for me. Tell him, okay, I'll meet you back here Friday at 8 p.m. if you want to help me work on it. And I said, I'm promising you he's not going to do it, because mom's going to say, no, you need to stay home because you're done with school. Yeah. So why wouldn't you encourage someone to go out and just get better? For some reason, being in the classroom teaching math, history, English is different than sports. Sports all becomes a macho thing, and you don't want to do that. And I said, but realistically, what I tell the kids is, look, if I've got 20 kids on my team and 5 of them have a pretty good hitting guy or a pretty good pitching guy, I can focus on the other ones that don't. Now I've only got to watch 15 guys instead of 20. And what I started doing too was asking them, look, if your coach tells you something, write it down.
Yeah.
And bring it back, because I don't see you live all the time. I don't see you when he's throwing on the field. I see things working here, but I need to know what happens when it goes out. And so, and even now, I have no problem picking up the phone and talking or texting with the coach and go, hey, so-and-so looks okay here, but he tells me he's not doing real well at practice. What do you see? Because it changes. It's a totally different environment.
And I believe that me and you have talked about, a couple players, and whereas, player A is going to tell coach what he wants to hear.
Yeah, exactly.
And the player A is going to go tell trainer what he wants to hear. Yeah. And we had that conversation. This guy's telling me this, and and it wasn't always 100% accurate. And so, you know what? I think, like you said, it's more of a macho thing.
Sure.
It's more of, I'm the coach, I know what's best. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people out there that know what they're doing.
Sure.
And so if you can, work in cooperation with these trainers, it's only going to be good for you. Yeah. It's only going to build the player up in the program.
And I think what changed too was the fact that the longer I did this, and more coaches like you realize, okay, he's already been in my spot, so he knows.
Yeah.
It's different if I just came in off the street and I didn't have any experience other than, maybe in the minors or whatever. But it's different because I know when you're not just responsible for your 9 starters, you're responsible for 50 guys. If you have 3 levels, 60 guys in your program. And your number 60 is just as important as your number 1. So I can't sit here and give number 60 30 minutes of BP to fix him. Yeah. And I don't want to leave him hanging. So if I send him someplace where he can get that and he comes back a little bit better, now I can do something with him on a short term, because you just don't have the time at the high school level to break guys down.
Well, and then the thing, like I said, we do have a lot of different guys that use different people, and I will let you know. I will give you a fair assessment anytime you want. So I've had guys that came back junior year after sophomore year, and I'm like, man, you're hitting the out of the ball. You're doing this. Who are you going to? You know that, and that, you might want to go to his guy. And so like I said, I just don't have the no coach has the time or the energy to give a half-hour one-on-one lesson. And the better the program gets that I'm learning, it's less and less time.
Right.
So, we talk baseball, we talk softball with my girls. My girls are, with their one-on-one coach, twice a week. Yeah. They're with me 2 or 3 times a week. Yeah. We're knocking on your door sometimes trying to get extra work. Yeah. So when they go to practice, they've already put in 3-4 hours in the week. Yeah. And my guys in high school that are doing that on their own, I can tell. I don't have to ask them. I can look at my 16 guys and I can say, I know these 5 guys are taking care of business. Mm-hmm. And those are the guys that year in and year out are on the field. Yeah. And if you think that the 2.5 hour practice that we have 4 times a week is enough, you're in trouble. No. Because like I said, you're competing with everybody else. Yeah. So.
Well, and the tough part with that too, that 2.5 hours isn't just hitting. It isn't just throwing. You've got to cover everything. You're doing situations. You're doing ground balls. You're doing breakdowns. And you might even be with your JV or your freshman team too. So it might change from day to day. So your participation in that may not always be what you need. And just as you know from your daughters or just being around enough, whatever it is you're trying to be successful in, you've got to work at it 5 days a week, 6 days a week.
Absolutely.
And that starts now, fortunately and unfortunately, because as you mentioned, there's more access for kids to get information. There's more guys doing what I do, and there's more avenues for these kids to get better. So as you get larger chunks of kids doing that, then the talent pool gets better. Yeah. And like you said, now you're starting to get more guys in because of your success, and now it's going to be more competitive. You can't just come out there because you enjoy baseball and get a spot.
No, absolutely. It's unique that just in the, like I said, this is going to be my 11th year, kind of 12th year involved in high school, and just the change that I've seen in 10 years where 10, 11 years ago you could have did that. Hey, I want to give baseball a try. Yeah. Let's go out there and do that. And so every year during trials we see 2 or 3 of those guys. We always try not to get them hurt. Sure. Hit them the soft ground ball. Thank them for coming out. And then the guys that you already knew been putting in the work, they do it. Yeah. You, like I said, if you're not taking advantage of summer programs, if you're not taking advantage of strength and conditioning in high school, if you want to be a high school pitcher and you don't have a pitching coach, it's going to show. Yeah. It is getting ultra competitive. And years ago in my area it wasn't, but even now in Paris, Moreno Valley, Riverside, it's very competitive.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, and we've talked about this before as coaches, that it almost feels as though the college mentality has dropped down to high school. Because you've got kids on those 12, 13 middle school, travel teams talking to other parents. Well, which is the best school to go to? Or we're in this district, but we're not really comfortable with that. And it's funny because it seems like there's that pocket of parents that focus more on the sports rather than the academic part.
It's a big group of parents.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, you still have to go to classes, right? Yeah. It's not like college. I know you're picking the school, but still. You might get tired of driving him a half an hour to school and picking him up a half hour, or you having to leave work earlier.
And that happens. I had a kid that I think was in our district and did some transfer somewhere, and then came back, and luckily he was able to, because that got really old really fast. Sure. And then of course the grass is always greener on the other side until you get there, and they're like, oh, it wasn't so bad. Yeah. So we've had that where it's worked out, and then I've had other kids that saw the greener grass and tried to come back, and they couldn't. Yeah. And I'm like, hey buddy, I'm gonna do whatever I can, but CIF is serious about this, and so I'm not gonna risk the program for you, so make sure that's what you want to do. And
it's good as far as the evolution of high school baseball, but a lot of times it's tough for kids to understand again too that it's become so competitive. So when you are deciding on what you do, you might have to commit a little bit sooner. Yeah. And I think you having daughters, you realize that, because I've tend to notice that softball girls, just because they're more mature by nature, they tend to dedicate to softball a lot faster than boys. Boys still kind of want to be on the fence until 13, 14, and then 3 weeks before the tryout, hey, I need to get in. I need to sharpen up a little bit.
Yeah, like I think that softball is just it's changing and it's growing each year, and now, especially for my daughters, they can go and they can see their heroes on TV playing college softball or even professional softball now, and you get softball is unique where every year we go out to I think Mary Nutter Classic is something they have in Palm Springs where all the top colleges go down there. And every one of my daughter's teams, we always go down. There's a team. They get autographs, take pictures with their heroes, and they are hooked. They want to be that next girl, you know, and in Southern California where there's so many good players, you know, one of my daughters is playing with, you know, the younger sister of one of her idols. And so it's like, how cool is that? And so imagine that in baseball, that we can take our baseball guys down and go hit with, you know, any of the Dodgers, Mookie Betts or Kershaw. And so that's unique with softball. And I think that once a young girl gets that experience, they get hooked. Whereas for baseball, some of those guys are still a little untouchable. It's a little untouchable.
Well, and let's switch gears for a minute because I wanted to kind of go into softball a little bit too. And so with softball, and you can correct me if I'm wrong because I don't know a lot of the ins and outs of it, but what I always thought was a benefit was the fact that there wasn't a high profile or an established professional softball league. So when the girls were looking at their highest level or setting their focus and goals, they were setting them on the goals that most of the kids should be setting them on anyway, which is playing in college. To where baseball, like you just said, I see these guys playing in the minors, but I'm not worried about the guys at Lake Elsinore. I want to see the guy at Dodger Stadium. How many guys actually get to do that? You know, or they don't notice the fact that this guy came from Vanderbilt, or this guy played at Florida, or this guy played at UCR, or this guy, you know, they miss that part. There's that big gap that they see from high school to pro, and they don't see all the work that went into it.
That gap is huge.
Exactly.
I mean, it is. I mean, but even if you do go to Elsinore or 66er Stadium and see it, it's a whole nother level. And that's single A. You know, and the double and the triple, those guys, whenever I hear somebody talk about a big league guy that's a bum or something, I'm like, you have no idea how money that guy is, you know? But it's you know, getting back to your original question, it is really different. For most of what I found out with the girls is they play because they love the game. Boys love the game, but they love the fame. So it's a little bit of both. And so most of the girls, and I've worked with the younger girls. Like I said, my two daughters who play softball are 13 and 11 now, and so they're just now getting to the point where we're doing, you know, the older ones starting to do showcases. We're starting to, you know, get to see college people. We're starting to build interest. But like I said, we've been, you know, I've been by your place probably the last 3 or 4 years, so it's a long haul. So I just know most of the time when I'm working with the girls, it's about the love of the game. You know, and like you said, the ultimate goal a lot of times is college. Now there is pro softball right now, and I was talking to some friends of mine. We hope that, you know, 5 or 6 years from now, it's enough to make a living. But right now, even the girls that play professional softball are still doing it for the love. So that's one of the big differences.
So, again, staying with the softball theme, you told me earlier you had just become director.
I've like I said, my kids grew up playing pony softball, which again I didn't know until I kind of got involved with this relatively new. I think it's about 10 or 11 years, and so you know, that's all we knew. We didn't know the ASA. I know Orange Crest and Diamond Girls. That's kind of ASA, a little bit different league. And so I've always, you know, started as a volunteer coach, and then you coach a team, and then, you know, kind of a local board member. And so I did that for a few years, and you know, we had a lot of ideas. We thought that would grow the game, at least with the girls. Like, we've been very successful locally. You know, won, you know, the softball World Series for Pony like 3 or 4 years in a row, and so we've done a lot of things. And so I got an opportunity now to kind of be a field director at the national level. So kind of the West Coast portion of Pony, and it's really good because, like I said, we have some exciting things that we want to do. We're talking about bringing in kind of like a travel select level program, so that we kind of have a bridge from the rec level to the travel level. Like right now, you have kind of the rec level, kind of learning the game, and then you go into travel, and depending on what travel team you land on, it is a whole different beast. And one thing that is really unfortunate sometimes is either the kid gets caught up in the name on that jersey, or the parents get caught up on the name on that jersey. And so we see a lot of girls that go into that, and they either aren't ready for it, or it's not the commitment that they want to have. Like I said, but my daughters are working out 5 to 6 days a week. It's not for everybody. And so what happens is we see them go from the rec level to hardcore travel baseball, and then they're out of the game at 12, 13, 14 years old.
Yeah.
And so now all the good stuff that we just talked about with the boys in high school baseball and learning life lessons and all that stuff, that's out the window for these girls, because they went in too early, they went hardcore, and they got burned out. And so one of the things that we're talking about doing is kind of having a select level where it's kind of a bridge between the rec level and the hardcore travel. And so that's something that a friend of mine, Ava, she's the director. She's now the new person in charge of West Coast for pony softball. So we've talked about bringing that to some of the local leagues and trying to build that up. So something I'm very excited about. Like I said, I'm baseball 5 days a week, softball 5 days a week, teacher 5 days a week. So I'm running out of days.
Yeah, that's true. Well, it's interesting because, listening to that, softball's progressive in some areas. I kind of always liked, I know there's a lot of tournaments weekly, but from what I understand with softball, there's 2 or 3 huge tournaments, the must-attend type tournaments for girls. At least the ones that are looking to play beyond high school, or the ones that are on those teams. And I noticed with baseball, and you probably noticed this too, you can't throw a stick at any weekend where there's not 10 tournaments. And it's this showcase or that showcase or that elite or this elite. And, there's only so many places coaches can be. And, there's only so many places that your high-end talent can be, and so it's watered down. And so one of the things that I always tell the parents when they would tell, he's on the number 1 ranked 10U team. Well, who ranked him? Who actually saw every single 10U team in the country? And, again, when you look at this lineup for this tournament, have you seen all those teams? Well, no. Then how do you know the competition is there?
There's a World Series every week. So it's the World Series of June in South Nevada. So and everybody has a ring. So exactly that, even more so with boys, but the girls are like that too. I think there's probably 2 or 3 different organizations that have national. PGF is the big one for girls. That's the one that you'll see on ESPN, and that's usually considered the best of the best. And then Triple Crown has one that they put out every year, and then you have AFA. So there's 4 or 5 tournaments that these are where you're going to see the elite players, and then for the older girls, that's where the colleges are going to show up. So it's a little bit different, but
and I don't know how much of that has to do with funding as opposed to baseball. And Jesse and I were talking about that earlier with everything that's gone on. I said, it's hard to really see every aspect going back to normal, because through all the tragedy that we've had, there's been a lot of things that we've had to evolve and try. And as a business or as a school district or whatever it is you do, you have to step back and go, okay, well, hey, we had to try this and this kind of works. Or, I don't really need to buy a plane ticket, a hotel, and a rental car to send my coach to all these different places when most of these guys are going to be in this one big tournament in Denver. Let's just go there and save money. Or, I know there's now, softball does a lot of live streaming.
I was late to the game as well. And Coach Roy at Orange Vista, we got to talk a lot, and he runs a travel ball team as well, Soca Athletics team, and it's a different ball game. Like I said, you won't get too many scouts to go watch high school girls softball for that very reason. I can go to Orange Vista and watch their 2 studs, or I can go to the PGF tournament where every single girl out there is the best player on their team. And so you get the most bang for your buck that way. Baseball, we'll still talk to a lot of scouts. We'll still talk to college. We'll still get phone calls. They do have showcases as well, but I still think that for boys especially, they want to know what they're doing against high school talent and how it's going to project. But I know my daughters play for the Athletic Mercado organization, and I think we heard about some new live stream that we're going to have where basically you enter your information, and if Tennessee is looking at you, that coach has that code, and they'll get a notification every time you get in that bat. So literally every single college can get a little ding if they so choose to when you're going to get in that bat. So instead of spending all that time and all that travel, you can recruit 100 girls from your living room. So it's definitely a game changer. Which, and even that too, a lot of the college assistants get paid on these camps that come to school, so that's going to change a lot of the environment. It's going to change the pay scale for those coaches. And unfortunately, just like with Major League Baseball, it's probably going to be some retraction of athletic departments and things like that. But it's evolution. Things get better, and through this kind of environment that we're in, we've had to do different things. Like we had talked about with
with your guys, majority of their college classes going forward are going to be online.
Yeah.
So now that they're having to do majority of their days, they're having to self schedule and organize a lot differently, and the kids that weren't are going to have to learn how to do it. And
that has been the biggest learning curve. The kids that know technology, that embrace it and everything, they're teaching me some things. So, hey, how do you do this? How do I make my Google Doc do this? Yeah. The ones that are struggling on the online are the ones that never used it or don't know how.
Sure.
So we just finished, I think, our first 6 weeks of school, and I would say half of my time was showing kids how to use this technology.
Sure.
Showing us how to submit papers, showing them how to use Flipgrid or all these different teacher tools that we use. But I tell you what, though, there's so much good technology out there that teaching is going to change.
Yeah.
And I told my kids, even when we go back to the classroom, we're going to have this Google Classroom, because now I can see what everybody's writing at the same time, and I can jump in when you have a problem.
Yeah.
So we're in a challenging time. Like I said, things are never going to be the same.
Sure.
I don't care how you think, but for better for some of the things too.
Yeah.
I think teaching is going to change. It's going to be a little bit better in the fact that now I can kind of do interventions a little bit faster. I see someone struggling, I can jump in. It's very hard in my position to teach to the whole class.
Sure.
So a lot of times I'm teaching to the bottom third of the class,
right.
And the rest of them are just kind of cruising.
Sure.
Well, now with the new technology we have, I can have each kid working at their level, and then I can just jump in when I need to. So that's a good thing. Of course, we want to be on campus. The social aspects that's so valuable, and just the best thing about high school to me was hanging out at the football games and seeing my friends and going to the dances and to the party. And so, my heart goes out to the kids on that. We can't wait to get back to that. But for the education part, like I said, in some ways, it's actually been beneficial.
Yeah. Well, you look at so many schools now, and right off the top at University of Phoenix, Grand Canyon, even CBU.
Yeah.
That's how they grew so fast with this online, because now you can be in another country and be on the CBU campus in theory, and so for these kids, that line of work is not going away. The online everything, submitting applications, applying for jobs, things like that. It's all done online. So for them, it's going to be a good learning experience. And I actually think, I was talking to another teacher about this the other day. I said, I think this is going to actually change the face of that social interaction when they do get on campus.
Yeah.
Because now you have a different way of accountability. Okay, you weren't in class and you could openly sit in class and tell me, no, Mr. Overton, I'm not doing the work. Well, now I don't have to listen to it.
I love that.
You can stay home all you want and not do what I ask you to do. But guess what? I'll never see you on campus because you didn't earn that right. And so, I think there's just some things from that'll go. But, that social aspect from sports, I think, is something that I think that type of student that has that bend needs, because that's their outlet for them. That just the nature of sports is physical. It's not visual. So it's something that I think we actually need to get back on. So, when we talked earlier, we talked a little bit about technology. Is there some things that you guys do as a team, baseball-wise, technology?
I'm still kind of old school. We're still doing pitching charts by hand and all that stuff. But of course, like I said, all the college coaches and scouts, they want to know time. So of course we're using radar guns, we're using the stopwatch and all that stuff. More than anything, the technology that I use is kind of some of the stuff for the fans, like the Game Changer. I use Game Changer, and I use it for me. I use it for my guys. And I talked a little bit about this last time I was here, but a lot of times I would fall in love with the kid in practice. Man, this guy, he's smoking all the balls off the right field fence, and he's there, and that dilutes my mind. And here we are, game 8, and I look at my numbers, and that guy's batting 220. And I've got little Timmy that I have stuck in the 8th hole, and he's batting 400, and he's on base. And I'm like, man, and year in and year out, that has happened where my eyes and my heart has lied to me. And so I said, well, let me try this. Let's move him here, move this, and it was productive on the field. So I use Game Changer more on my guys than anything. Of course, being a new school, I had to use Max prep a lot, just to kind of know who's out there. I've got to, put my schedule together, and stuff like that. Other than that, of course, we use the GoPros to review game footage, and then, steady cams and kind of slow motion videos to kind of break down swings and stuff like that. So we do it, probably not as much as some programs, but, I'm a big fan of anything that could make me a better coach and make my players better players.
Yeah, it's just interesting because I think a lot of it depends on the school and what you have access to, and then your setup too. There's some schools that just the setup's not conducive to a lot of that. You may not have rooms where you can do that with your kids, or you may not have enough coaches that you can do that. That's
that's the biggest thing. I think I had a luxury. Like I'm still bummed about last year. I think this was the first time I think I had 6 or 7 coaches in my program, and my buddy in Paloma, Bernie, he always teases me because he has something like 10 coaches on varsity or something, and he's got a shortstop coach and a right field coach and all that, and I'm like, usually it's me and one other guy, and that's typical around here, like most of the schools around here, you may have 2 guys, and so last year was kind of the first time I think I had 7 coaches in the program, and so I had 3 guys just on varsity, and 2 at each of the other levels, and it was huge. We were able to do a lot of that. A lot of, hey, you go there and work independently with the pitchers. Where in the past, it's one guy doing half the team, the other guy doing the other half. So, it's important.
I kind of feel like 2 at each level and then 3 at the varsity is a good number.
I thought it worked well.
Excuse me. Ooh.
I'm putting you to sleep.
No.
It's time for our cerveza.
That'd be worse. That's why I don't touch that after. I've seen some of those schools where you've got kids sitting outside the dugout because your first 14 feet is coaches. But, I think sometimes it's just hard because it's hard for there's just too much opportunity for diverse instruction with the kids, and if you don't have the right amount of coaches or the right type of coaches, should I say, doing that, it can be really lack of a better word, confusing for the kids just because they really don't understand, or I think sometimes it'll give them too many shoulders to cry on, I think, if things go wrong.
It can be counterproductive. I've seen that too, and you talk about too many coaches. Go check out some travel teams. I've seen some for baseball and softball where you got 6, 7 guys there, and I'm like, wow, each player has their own coach. But no, absolutely. In the dugout too, I think that it takes away the responsibility of the kids sometimes too.
Sure.
Where it's like, I want my kids tracking pitches. I don't want a coach doing that.
Right.
I want you guys work out who's going to go get this foul ball, who's going to get the next one. You're going to pick up the center fielder and the first baseman when they come in. You're going to give them a ball. You're going to, everybody has a job, has something to do. And I think that when you have too many coaches, what happens is those coaches get together and the players get together, and then you're not a team. You're just a bunch of different groups. And so I agree. I think last year, like I said, we had 3 at the top. I think 2 on the other ones, and it worked out really good. So.
Yeah. Empowering the kids, I think, at the high school level is a good time for them because it's not necessarily just baseball oriented. It actually helps because a lot of, in the area where, we are, Rancho, Paris, Riverside, there's a lot of kids that they might be in charge of watching younger siblings. And so some of them already have those good instincts as far as making good decisions and prioritizing and organizing. And so I think if you let them kind of run with some of that, and the kids that are a little bit more responsible, you kind of give them a different sense of importance on the team, and you might might even be a kid that's not one of your best players. Hey, this is my role on the team, and if I'm not doing my job, even if it's not on the field, I'm still helping the program get better. One of the things I remember, I don't think they do it anymore, but Gary Rungo used to run a fall freshman-sophomore league over at Arlington. And it was usually like middle of September till right around Thanksgiving. And so my last 2 years, what I did was I had my seniors, and every Saturday I would pick 2 coaches. And so it was their job to take the bucket with them. Of course, it had to be guys that drove, and it was usually a couple guys that had siblings on the team, so they were going to be there anyway. So I would be there. I would just get there a little bit before the game. I'd sit, with my breakfast in the bleachers, and I would have them make out the lineup. I would have them make sure they had the baseballs, make sure they went through the warm-up, and I would give them the chart. I mean, there wasn't a lot of things that were going to put them in a conflict type spot, but it was basically for them to understand all that goes into it, and how, when I'm asking you guys to pay attention attention, it's because I need to focus on this. So if I'm worried about what you guys are doing here in the dugout, or, you need to be able to understand, hey, when I see this guy struggling, maybe it's time to go get him, or hey, maybe it's time to go have someone go warm up, or just show them different aspects of the game. Because I would always explain to players that, look, if I teach you everything there is to know about coaching, you're going to be a better player because you understand more about the game rather than just my position. Because if you're going to walk over to the shortstop and talk to him about something he did wrong, your third baseman's checked out, your second baseman's and he yelling at me. But you want them to understand the game and not just their role in it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's you said so much right there. There's so many things I want to. No, but I absolutely agree, and I think me and you are similar in the fact that we're teachers. We want to teach the game more than me telling you what to do. We want to teach the game, and even more. And again, my parents and most of my kids hate this. It's more than about baseball. I'm trying to teach you about life. I'm trying to teach you to be a good parent, to be a good husband, to do that. And so, as much responsibility that they can handle, it's a good thing.
Sure.
And then you walk beside them and you help them. My 11-year-old, she's in charge of a practice bucket. So mom comes home and there's an extra bucket, and I thought, hey, I got an extra bucket. No, that's her responsibility. She has to bring that bucket to practice every Saturday and Sunday. And so I'm like, hey, I dig it, and so we're teaching response. She's 11 years old. So when I see my high school kids and I'm picking up baseballs after them or something like that, I'm like, it won't happen twice. It'll happen once, and then we'll go to the left field line and run until I get tired, and I don't get tired easy. I can watch all day. So we do that, and then it's just teaching responsibility. I think that's something that we lost from. I know when I was playing to even 12 years ago when I started, we would go and we would set up the field. We would do that. I had to have the conversation the first couple of years where it's like, hey man, I come out here early to try to water the field, try to get this done, but this is your field. You need to be doing that. And we've grown a long way, but the newer generation, it's been lost. I think a lot of times we've done it for them where they just show up and play. And it's like, well, wait a minute. I mean, I'm not making that much money, where I'm going to set up the field and do all this for you. You need to do this too. And so, I think that's great. I think that you're developing players, and then like you said before, we're developing coaches too. So same thing. In the summer, I'm not coaching in the summer. I might come out and I might go coach first base for one time. But my young assistant coaches, they want to do that. You're making the lineup. We were in the Big League Dreams league a couple of years when we first started, just because we wanted to get games, and it would always be like an assistant coach, and I would show up, and most of the time I'm eating nachos in the thing, but I would come out. I want you to make lineups. I want you to be in charge of this. I want you to see the other stuff that involves being a manager, because like you say, being running the team and being a guy hitting fungos, it's a world of difference. And so, like I said, I'm teacher by nature. We're going to teach our assistants. We're going to teach our kids.
Well, I mean, even the kids that play beyond, they'll learn that when you get to whatever junior college you're at, there's an assignment, and when you come out there, there's that big whiteboard, and it's either in the locker room, it's in the dugout, or it's in the storage unit, wherever it is, and you have something to do. You have an assignment for cleanup, you have an assignment for setup, and you have an assignment for the day. And so there's organization, and that's just part of the game that you need to learn. And the sooner you can carry that load as a responsible player, then it's going to make everyone else better. So as far as softball, I'm going to just kind of ask more questions on a personal level.
No worries.
So you said your coach is with, what was the organization again?
My kids are with Athletic Mercado organization, which again, 3 years ago, I didn't know Moreno Valley Little League from Riverside Little League, and so just the short time that we've been playing, we've tried a couple of different organizations, and really good. Coach David Mercado, I think he won CIF at Great Oak D1. Softball, he won it a couple years, and so he's been in the organization forever with the Soak Athletics, and then I think he broke off a few years ago, but they're sending girls to college all the time. I mean, similar to Corona Angels. Corona Angels, big time organization. Soak Athletic. There's 3 or 4 really major organizations, and yeah. So both of my girls play with them. Say happy birthday to Coach Sabo. My daughter's a coach, so I told him I'd say happy birthday to him. But no, we love it. What I'm learning is for girls, scholarships and stuff too, it's not running through the high school. Like I said, it's running through those organizations and those showcase tournaments and stuff like that. And what I do like about it is, just like me being as a teacher, they're teaching them other lessons. Like I said, my baby girl, her coach, Coach Matt, has them. They've got their little jobs. You know, they're setting up the field. They're 11-year-olds. They're setting up the bow nets. They're doing that. We got some of us parents got yelled at for carrying their bags. We don't carry their bags. They carry their bags. And so I'm like, all right, I dig it.
Well, at 11, some of the bags I see come in are twice the size of the.
You see those catcher gears?
Yeah.
I was like, man.
Yeah. But I had a player come in the other day. He's catching. He just got a brand new bag. And man, that thing had to be as wide as this table and as long. And I said, what do you got in there? Because my catcher's gear. Are we going overseas? Because that thing was, you know.
Good luck trying to get on an airplane with that.
Yeah, that's what I told him. I said, you know, it reminds me when I used to do stuff with the baseball factory all the time. I had one of those big bags, and said, man, I remember dragging that thing in the summer through the heat through the airport, and I had to be the last in line because I had to check that thing. And I said, I just every time I see a big bag behind you, I'm thinking, you know, if that's my catcher's gear, I'm going to play another position. I just need a glove and a bat, and I'm not going to drag all that stuff with me. Yeah. It's amazing how some of the stuff, you know, and I have kids that come in with 3 or 4 bats. I'm like, you know, you only need one. I got enough stuff here. We're doing all the props and things, but man, it's like, pull the one that has the hits in it.
Well, I mean, you talk about how the game has changed. Yeah, I mean, softball, like, you look in any softball bag on a given, you know, game, and you're talking $800,000 worth of stuff. I mean, they got to have the $200 you know, glove, and the bats are $300 a pop, and like I said, they need 3 of them, and it puts a hurting on me as a teacher.
Yeah, it looks like a golf bag. You know, you've got all these different. Okay,
what's this one? For each one.
Yeah, I only want this one to hit, you know, just beyond second.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's just amazing how that's changed for that. And then I asked about the team because I've heard certain names before, but I've never gone out and watched. And so I just overhearing the coaches in the facility, you know, like when Wendy was there, just listening to different names. So I don't know where they're located or anything like that. So I was just curious how.
You know, the crazy thing is that's another thing about softball here is this is kind of the mecca of travel softball. I mean, you've got some good Texas teams, you've got some good Florida teams, but I know like David Mercado, he's down the road in Murrieta. He's got his facility, probably the premier program. You've got the Corona Angels that, you know, based in Corona. You know, almost everybody in college either played for SoCal Athletics, Corona Angels, Athletic Mercado, Firecrackers, Tony Rico, he's in Orange County. So this really is the best of the best when it comes to softball. So if you can get in one of these organizations, you know that the girls you're playing any given week are going to be there. They're going to be where you want. They're going to be playing for the colleges. So if you can compete with them, you know, you're going to be all right. It's like I said, it's a specialized sport, but like I said, we're just in a great area for it.
So any interest in jumping over to softball and being?
Dude, that man, the rumors that go around Instagram and Facebook every year, I'm rumored to either be running a different high school program or a different organization. No, I tell people all the time, the dream is to win the CIF in baseball and then walk across the field and grab the softball team and win it in softball. So who knows? I mean, like I said, I'm in a position where, like I said, I'll probably be going the AD route pretty soon. I'm finishing up my schooling on that, so I'll probably be eventual AD. But honestly, once that happens, I'll probably have to take like an assistant role or a little less of a role. But I would love it. Like I said, I feel like that we have the team. This year for baseball, you know, this is what I would consider my best team. Now, hopefully, we're handling our business over the summer. They're telling me all the right stuff. Yeah. So there's nothing I would love more to doing that. And then, like I said, my girls will be coming through high school in the next. One will be there next year, and the other one will be there in about 3 years. So how cool would that be?
Yeah.
Get a ring in both, huh? Then I can open up next to E29 and.
Well, you come over, you come over the other ADs with Brad and Steve.
Yeah. Oh, I would dig it. You got a good thing going over there, man. Like I said, I know we've talked about that. That is awesome. That's something that I would love to do. But you know me, you know how many plates I have in the air right now, and so it's all about timing. And like I said, I wanna put all my energy and focus in going after that ring this year in baseball. And then hey, who knows?
Yeah, I'm curious to see where all this goes. You know, I joke with the guys and I keep telling them, I go, man, the 3D degenerative discs in my back won't let me do this for very much longer. So I like doing this gig. It just doesn't pay. But, I try to get these other guys. You can't live on that. But, trying to get those guys and getting them to understand, hey, there's a time. It's good. It was fun. I enjoyed it. And I had tons of great relationships. I mean, there's probably not a week that goes by that I don't go back and forth with at least two of my guys that played for me.
Yeah.
And, it's cool now seeing these younger coaches that I know now that when I first met them, when I was still coaching, they were assistants or grad assistants, and now they're head coaches. And so it's a lot easier for me to be more of a voice and a director and a mouthpiece for the players than to be actually in the cage training them. And now these guys come in, and younger guys like John and Brad and those guys that have all the energy and the time. It's fun to watch them develop their own group of guys and help those guys move along. And that's the second, I think, level of mine. I don't have a field team anymore. But
no, hey, I think that's the way to go, man. That's the plan. I mean, I think guys like you and me, we're gonna always be around the game in some form or fashion. But again, like I said, there's only so many years that you can grind through it, and then, like I said, it's awesome that baseball allows us to still be a part of somebody else's dream, whether it's helping coaches or helping that pitcher or that hitter or running the program that you're running. I think that's great.
Yeah,
I mean, that's who has to get a real job when you can coach baseball and work with kids.
Yeah, you can't call it work. It's funny because I told Jesse, I said, hey, if a spot at CBU ever comes up where I can just come to practice, I don't have to get on the bus, I don't have to put the suit on and get on the bus. I go, let me know. It's that whole grind about 3 days in a row on the field. And I said, I don't mind spending 3-4 hours hitting fungo, throwing BP, breaking guys down.
Said, you heard it here. He'll be at Orange Vista 1 day a week.
When you become AD and you can swing those zeros over this way.
There we go. All that big money I'm making now, huh?
Yeah. Well, I won't tell. Just let me break it when you decide you're going to take over a softball organization. Just save that for me. Just text me.
That'll be breaking news.
Yeah, that'll be your third visit here. We can.
Only thing is, I don't think my kids will come back and play for me. So they both love their coaches and they love their teams, and so I might have to do it without my own kids.
Start another organization, huh?
Well, I've got the granddaughter now, man. So I'm like you. I see you sometimes posting with the grand. So I've got a little 1-year-old, and so her mom doesn't know it, but I already have her training, man. I got a little 1-year-old working on that spin.
Make her do everything left-handed.
There you go. There you go.
That's the best way to do it. Start them young. All right. Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming down. I want to thank you again for taking time. I know you hustled out of class and got a little bit of a break.
What do you
now.
mean? We were taping this at 4:30 p.m.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Workman.
5:05.
5:05 p.m. All right.
Yeah, we could have done it on location from your class. I could have got the guys down there.
That'd be cool.
But I mean, this is one of those things where talking to the other guys, it's a situation where if it were a normal time, you would be at school and you would be at practice or you would be softball practice or something like that. But things kind of slowed down a little bit and gave everyone the opportunity to do this sit down. And I was telling some of my other parents that asked me about this, like, honestly, it was self-serving because these are all baseball people that I like to sit and chat with, and we don't have time. You just can't do it normally during the season. And even to come to practice, you're probably finishing practice and on your way to another practice or on your way home to lesson plan. So time is just something that a lot of us have a little more of now. Yeah. Which is nice in a way.
This is awesome. Hey, we can't be out there coaching. At least we can talk baseball,
Talk baseball. Yeah, it's always fun. So when we come back for part 3, we'll hopefully it'll be during the season, or maybe we can do it in the summer after the season. So we've got some time, and hopefully things stay the way they are, and baseball stays on track, and we can talk about your.
I'm hopeful. I think it's going to happen.
Talk about your next playoff run.
Hey man, let's go all the way. I told the boys, man, two times in a row within a run or two of getting to the big dance. I said, let's just get there, and then whatever happens. Yeah. Let's get there.
Hey, you never know. You might as well do it now.
Absolutely.
Coach, thanks for coming.
Appreciate
and we'll get you on the third run.
Thanks, Ernie.
All right, so until the next half hour, I'll be back soon. But thanks again for watching, and hopefully we will see you shortly.